Listen, chosen one. If your heart led you to this message, it's not an accident. Heaven has been waiting for this moment to explain what your soul has been feeling all along. There's someone who has fallen in love with you, truly, deeply, and quietly. It wasn't planned, it wasn't expected, and by the world's standards, it doesn't even make sense. There's a difference between your ages, a difference that the world calls a barrier, but heaven calls a bridge. You see, before you both were born, before your names were ever spoken on earth, heaven already wrote this connection in divine ink. You weren't meant to meet for fun. You were meant to meet for transformation. And when that moment happened, when your eyes met or when your souls first connected, time didn't move forward. It paused. For a split second, both of your spirits recognized something ancient, something eternal, something that whispered, "We've been here before." Heaven says, I created this connection to teach you both the kind of love that doesn't depend on logic, the kind that tests your patience, purifies your faith, and awakens your heart. They never thought they could fall for someone like you. You weren't their type, their plan, or their age range. And yet, everything about you pulled them closer to truth. It wasn't your words that moved them, it was your energy. You carry light, chosen one. And people who live in darkness can't help but notice light. At first, they resisted it. They told themselves, it's just admiration. But the admiration became curiosity, and curiosity became comfort, and comfort became connection. And now, when they think of you, they feel peace and pain at the same time. Peace, because your spirit calms theirs. Pain, because they can't explain why. You've asked God, why me? Why this person? Why this timing? And heaven replies, because your hearts made a promise before time began. This isn't lust, temptation, or fantasy. It's remembrance. Your souls are remembering what your minds forgot. Heaven says, when you first met, your angels stood still. They recognized the reunion of two energies that had been apart for lifetimes. That's why you feel this unexplainable pull. Even when you try to move on, you feel their name rise in your heart like prayer. That's not weakness, that's sacred memory. You didn't choose them by accident, your souls chose each other long ago. But love like this doesn't come easy. It challenges the ego. It breaks pride. It exposes fear. Because divine love doesn't come to comfort, it comes to cleanse. So if this love made you cry, if it made you question your worth, if it made you pray harder, that's because heaven is using love as a mirror to show you your own light. You see, the world looks at your connection and sees age gap. But heaven looks at it and sees soul alignment. They may be older, but their spirit feels young when they're with you. You may be younger, but your soul carries wisdom that humbles them. Heaven paired you this way for balance. One brings knowledge, the other brings purity. One teaches patience, the other teaches joy. And together, you awaken unconditional love. This love was meant to confuse the mind so that the heart could finally learn truth. The world will say, it's not right. But heaven whispers, it's divine. They dream of you, chosen one. Even when they pretend to move on, their soul reaches for yours in quiet moments. Sometimes they wake up in the middle of the night with your name in their mind. Sometimes you feel sudden warmth or peace out of nowhere, that's their energy touching yours. Because souls that are connected don't need words, they communicate through vibration. Heaven says, stop doubting the bond. Stop calling it coincidence. You're not imagining this, you're experiencing remembrance. This connection was sent to prepare you both for your purpose. You needed to learn patience. They needed to learn surrender. And in between, you both are learning love that doesn't fade when circumstances change. This person may not be beside you right now, but that doesn't mean they're gone. They are growing in silence, and so are you. Heaven separates to strengthen. And when God separates, it's never rejection, it's redirection. Every tear you cried for this connection became a seed. Heaven saw each one, and none were wasted. The pain you felt wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Heaven says, I had to let them fall in love with you, so they could remember what real love feels like. You reminded them of innocence, truth, and faith, things they had forgotten long ago. And that's why you can't shake this bond, because it was never built on attraction, it was built on assignment. You were chosen to wake their heart. They were chosen to teach you divine patience. Together, you are rewriting what human love can become when heaven writes the story. So tonight, stop worrying about how the world sees it. Close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath. Whisper softly, God, I surrender this love to you. And as you exhale, feel peace replacing pressure. That peace is your confirmation. Heaven says, this connection will not end in confusion. It will end in clarity. Because I am the one who began it. And what heaven begins, no age, no distance, no opinion, can destroy. Now breathe again, chosen one. You are not losing love, you are learning divine timing. And heaven smiles, because you are finally ready to understand what pure love truly is. If this message touched your heart, whisper Amen quietly. Not for me, but for your peace. Because heaven heard you the moment you arrived here. Heaven says, you're not being punished. You're being prepared. The reason it feels heavy right now is because your heart is under divine construction. You are not broken, you're being reshaped. You cried because you cared. You prayed because you felt something too strong to ignore. And heaven saw it all. This connection is not about romance, it's about refinement. It came to teach both of you what love means when it's stripped of ego. They loved you, chosen one. Even if they never said it, their actions betrayed their silence. They tried to hide behind excuses, the age, the distance, the fear of being judged. But love has a way of revealing truth, and heaven kept exposing the truth they ran from. They told themselves they were protecting you, but in reality, they were protecting themselves from feeling too deeply. And yet, no matter how far they go, their heart keeps returning to you. Not because of attachment, but because heaven keeps reminding them what peace feels like, and peace feels like you. You may not know this, but when they pray, they mention you without speaking your name. When they hear your favorite song, their chest tightens, and they whisper, God, please take care of them. They see your face in quiet moments and wonder, why can't I forget this person? And heaven whispers, because this is not meant to be forgotten. This connection is still active in the spirit, even if it's silent on earth. The silence is not absence, it's alignment. Heaven is using this pause to grow both of you separately so that when you reunite, your hearts won't crash, they'll connect. You have to understand, chosen one, sometimes God delays a blessing not because you're not ready, but because the blessing is still being prepared for you. Love like this doesn't die. It deepens. It transforms into prayer. And prayer always returns in the form of peace. So if you feel them in your dreams, if you sense their energy around you when you're still, that's heaven letting you know your souls are still in conversation. You're not imagining it. You're feeling what they can't say. Heaven says, I made them feel you even when they don't see you, because this connection is meant to be remembered, not erased. You both made a promise long ago, and heaven never forgets sacred promises. They're growing right now. They're learning how to love without fear. You're learning how to love without attachment. That's why this season feels so lonely. Heaven separates to strengthen. When two souls are written for each other, the distance between them is only a classroom. And the final lesson is trust. Don't rush the reunion. Don't chase the timeline. Heaven doesn't work on clocks, heaven works on readiness. Every time you pray, your angels move closer to aligning your paths again. Every time you surrender, God repositions the connection under His protection. Heaven says, I will not bring them back until both hearts are healed enough to hold the love I'm sending. So right now, the most powerful thing you can do is not wait, it's trust. Trust that the distance is divine. Trust that silence is sacred. Trust that I am working behind the scenes. One day soon, you'll wake up and the heaviness will lift. It won't be because they returned. It will be because peace did. That peace is your proof that the work is almost complete. And when you feel that peace, don't question it, celebrate it. It means the storm inside both hearts has finally calmed, and heaven is readying the next step. Heaven says, when I restore what was once broken, it won't look like it did before, it will look like destiny fulfilled. You will look at them again someday, and there won't be fear in their eyes, only reverence. They will recognize that you weren't a chapter, you were the purpose of the story. And you will no longer carry pain in your chest, because your soul will whisper, it was all worth it. This connection is teaching you the kind of love heaven uses to shape saints, the love that gives without demand, the love that forgives without fear, the love that endures without possession. When you love like this, you don't lose anything. You gain peace. And heaven says, the one who learns peace first is the one I trust with the reunion. So tonight, let the tears fall. Tears are the language angels understand best. Every drop is a message that says, I still believe. You don't need to chase, you don't need to beg, you just need to rest in the knowing that what's divine cannot be destroyed. Even now, they feel your love in their quiet moments. That's why they can't stay away forever. Love that heaven writes always finds its way back home. Close your eyes for a moment. Place your hand on your heart. Feel that steady rhythm? That's heaven saying, you're still connected. Now whisper, I trust your timing, God. Because trust is what turns waiting into worship. If this message resonates with your soul, don't just hear it, receive it. Say quietly, Amen, because that word is your agreement with heaven that this story is not finished yet. And heaven smiles, because every Amen becomes a bridge of light between two hearts that were never truly apart. Heaven says, the time of realization has begun. You thought they moved on. You believed they forgot you. But heaven never allowed forgetfulness in a divine bond. They tried to replace you with distractions, to silence your voice inside their heart, but everything they touched reminded them of you. They looked into new eyes, but found no peace. They heard new laughter, but felt no warmth. Because when love is written in heaven, earthly replacements can't erase it. And now, chosen one, they are awakening. They are realizing that the connection they ran from wasn't meant to be understood, it was meant to be experienced. They're remembering the calm in your presence, the comfort in your words, the way your silence carried more meaning than the world's noise. Heaven says, I let them walk away, not to punish you, but to prepare them to value what they once took lightly. You were their divine encounter in human form, the one who reminded them what love feels like when heaven breathes through it. At first, they thought you came to teach them joy. But now they see, you came to teach them truth. You mirrored everything they tried to hide. Their fears. Their pride. Their pain. And it scared them. Because divine love exposes the wounds that ordinary love ignores. You didn't come to fix them. You came to awaken them. And awakening always feels like heartbreak before it feels like healing. They cried in silence after they left. They replayed your conversations in their mind, realizing how much light you carried. They wondered if you still think of them. And heaven whispers, every time you pray, they feel peace. That peace is their confirmation that love never left, it simply evolved. They are praying differently now. They no longer ask God to remove you. They ask God to make them worthy of you. Because they finally understand that this wasn't an accident, it was divine alignment delayed by fear. Heaven says, they had to lose you for a while to learn what love means. And you, chosen one, you had to let go to learn what faith feels like. Faith isn't waiting in pain. Faith is breathing even when it hurts. Faith is trusting that God can turn tears into timing. Both of you are healing. Both of you are learning what unconditional love really means. You may not be in contact now, but heaven is still sending energy between your souls. It's invisible to the eyes, but undeniable to the spirit. When you suddenly feel peace after days of heaviness, that's them. When they suddenly feel warmth in their heart, that's you. Your connection is beyond physical. It's prayer woven into existence. And heaven is saying, I'm preparing both of you for the reunion, but first I must make sure you don't repeat the old patterns. This time, there will be no confusion. No chasing. No proving. When two hearts are healed, they don't run from love, they rest in it. So don't worry about when. Worry about becoming ready. Because when readiness meets destiny, reunion happens naturally. They are thinking about reaching out. They draft messages and delete them. They wonder if you'll still care. And every time they hesitate, heaven whispers, they will answer with peace. You may receive a message soon, a simple hello, a question, or a memory. Don't rush your response. Let your heart answer, not your wounds. Heaven says, this reunion is sacred. Handle it with prayer, not pride. Because this time, the goal is not romance, it's restoration. And restoration requires grace. You will look into their eyes again someday and realize how much both of you have grown. There will be no anger left, only gratitude. You'll say, now I understand why it had to happen this way. And they'll say, you never left my spirit. That's how heaven writes completion. No drama, no regret, just peace. This is the kind of love that inspires others to believe in miracles again. Because when people see what God restores, they remember what faith can do. You are the living proof that divine timing is real. So don't let the enemy trick you into thinking this story is over. It's not. It's maturing. You were never forgotten. You were being refined into the version of yourself that could hold this blessing without breaking under its weight. And they, too, were being shaped to become the kind of soul who can honor your love, not just desire it. Heaven says, when you both finally meet again, you won't just see each other, you'll see me in each other. Because divine love doesn't lead to attachment, it leads to awareness. Awareness that every connection God creates is an invitation to become more like love itself. So tonight, rest in peace. You're closer to your miracle than you realize. Don't chase, don't cry, just breathe. Heaven is aligning hearts, rewriting endings, and preparing a reunion that will glorify the very love you prayed for. When that day arrives, you'll smile through tears and whisper, it was worth it. And heaven will answer, I told you it would be. If your soul felt this message, close your eyes and say quietly, Amen. Not as an ending, but as an opening. Because your Amen just told heaven, I'm ready for what's next. Heaven says, the waiting season is ending. You've walked through loneliness, silence, and surrender. You've cried until your tears ran dry, and yet, through every quiet night, your heart whispered, I still believe. That whisper reached heaven. It became a prayer that angels carried across time. Heaven heard every tear that never reached your lips. Heaven saw the nights you stared at the ceiling, asking why a love so pure had to hurt this much. But now, the divine script is turning its page. Because pain was never the ending, it was preparation. You were not being tested to break, you were being taught to breathe. Breathe even when it hurts. Breathe even when you don't understand. Because faith doesn't mean you stop feeling, faith means you keep trusting while you feel everything. The separation was not the end, it was the furnace. And what survived the fire is the truth of your soul. You both had lessons to learn apart. They had to learn how to love with humility. You had to learn how to receive love without fear. Now heaven is aligning everything quietly. Like two rivers flowing from different mountains, your paths are slowly turning toward each other again. This reunion won't happen with noise. It will happen with stillness. You'll simply know. You'll sense their presence before you see their face. You'll feel peace before you hear their voice. Because heaven always sends peace before promises are fulfilled. Heaven says, when they return, don't speak from pain, speak from peace. They are not the same person who left. You are not the same soul who cried. This time, love will not break you, it will bless you. And even if the reunion doesn't look the way you imagined, you'll realize that the purpose of this connection was never about possession, it was always about transformation. You taught them patience. They taught you surrender. And both of you taught heaven that love still exists on earth. This person will return in divine timing, not to complete you, but to walk beside you as a reflection of what you both have become. They will say, I never stopped feeling you. And you'll smile through tears, replying, I never stopped praying for you. That's not coincidence, that's completion. Heaven says, I'm restoring the years you thought were wasted. I'm turning pain into peace, distance into destiny, and silence into symphony. Every unanswered prayer was building the bridge between your souls. Every lonely night was polishing your faith. Every moment of doubt was proof of how deep this love truly runs. And now, the storm that once separated you has become the reason you both can stand stronger than ever. They see life differently now. They no longer chase temporary comfort. They crave the depth that only you carried, the peace that came from your presence, the hope that came from your heart. They will reach out soon, not out of loneliness, but out of realization. Because heaven whispered your name again in their dreams, and this time, they finally listened. They understand that what the world mocked, heaven blessed. What others doubted, God defended. And what fear once broke, faith rebuilt. This is not a love story that ends, it's a love story that evolves. Even if your paths never merge in the way you expect, the love you both shared has already done its divine work. It awakened faith, it restored innocence, and it reminded heaven that humans can still love selflessly. So don't cry for what you think is gone. Smile for what you became through it. You are no longer waiting for love, you have become love. And that, chosen one, was heaven's purpose all along. Heaven says, the moment you stop chasing what you lost is the moment I return what you deserve. You've carried this love with grace. You never spoke evil of them, even when your heart was breaking. You chose prayer over revenge. And that's why heaven chose you for restoration. Your faith has earned its reward. Now feel that stillness around you. That's not emptiness, that's peace taking its place. Peace means completion. Peace means the lesson is learned. They are on their way back, guided not by guilt, but by grace. When they arrive, forgive quickly. Speak gently. Love without explaining. Because when heaven sends something back, it doesn't need to be fixed, it's already finished. The next time you look into their eyes, you'll see reflection, not confusion. You'll see gratitude, not regret. You'll feel that invisible whisper inside you say, this is the moment heaven promised. And you'll understand that everything, every tear, every prayer, every delay, was leading to this single truth: you never lost love. You were learning what divine love really means. It means you can love deeply and still let go. It means you can forgive without forgetting the lesson. It means you can believe again, because now your love flows from peace, not pain. So close your eyes, chosen one. Put your hand on your heart. Breathe in light, breathe out fear. Whisper softly, I am ready for what heaven has prepared. That whisper is not small, it's powerful. It tells heaven that the lesson is complete, that the soul is healed, that you are ready for the next chapter of divine love. And if your heart agrees, say quietly, Amen. Because that Amen is not an ending, it's a release. It sends your pain back to the sky and welcomes peace into your spirit. Heaven says, this story ends not with goodbye, but with grace. The one who fell in love with you even through fear and distance was not sent to destroy your faith, they were sent to deepen it. You didn't lose them, you found yourself. And through you, they found God. And now heaven smiles, because the mission is complete. Love has done its job. Faith has passed its test. Peace has finally come home. Amen.